ready. I'm Jenna, and this is Starve the Demon Recovery by Any Means Necessary. Tonight, we're talking about Step 9 in Alcoholics Anonymous, making amends, and the spiritual principle of responsibility. Before we get started, I wanted to make something clear. I do not speak for Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm sharing my own experience with the 12 steps and what I've learned in my own recovery. Hopefully, something in my experience can give you a little strength and hope in yours. Step 9 says, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. This is where we take that list we made in step 8 and start doing something with it. And making amends is about a whole lot more than saying, I'm sorry. It's about taking responsibility for the harm we caused, doing what we can to make things right, and learning how to live differently going forward. So, tonight we're going to get into the big book, talk about making amends, and talk about what responsibility really looks like in recovery. Let's talk about it. Let me see. I want to make sure I can see the chat here. Jamie's front row seats, baby. You're the first one here. Hi. So we are going to start in the big book. And last week we talked about the way the big book does it is it kind of works 8 and 9 into action chapter together. And so I read it all last week, but in the video that I edited for the book study series, I cut out the end of it that's more step 9 stuff. So we're going to reread some of what we read last week, and we're going to read step 9 in the 12 and 12. So, something I want to make clear too. Like I already said, I don't speak for Alcoholics Anonymous. This is me and mine. Um, Something else, when we're talking about making amends, we are not talking about saying I'm sorry. They've heard I'm sorry. We've said I'm sorry. Making amends is about repairing relationships. So we're going to talk about the difference between direct amends and living amends. So I hope that I can make these complex ideas simple for you. That's kind of one of my superpowers. So let's go ahead and get into it. And Cliff is not here with me. He went to the gym. He left me all alone like he does. He's off tonight. He was working Monday nights, which is which was great because while he was at work, he could jump in the chat and keep me going. And he's not here right now. So, he's my whoopee. And my dogs are actually, he's my safe space, and my dogs are my whoopee. So, as long as I have my safe space and my whoopee, I'm fine. That's a good question, Jamie. What do you consider your safe space, and what would you consider your whoopee? And do you know what I mean when I say whoopee? Two important questions. While you think about that, I'm going to start reading. So we're still in the chapter Into Action in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Blue Book. And I got my old lady big print edition. I don't have to put my reading glasses on till we get to the 12 and 12. So we are starting halfway down page 83. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. Hey, Kaylee, thanks for coming in. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter or a text, or you find them on Facebook. Remember, this was written in 1939. There may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases, but we don't delay if it can be avoided. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble without being servile or scraping. We walk the world with our heads high like the children of God that we are. We cannot go back and make a better past. We can make up for some things that we've done. We can try to make right the things that we have done wrong, but we are not, you know, we are not scraping and servile. We do not have to throw ourselves on the fire. People are going to forgive you or they're not. They're going to accept your amends or they're not. You walk with your head held high. Overcoming the disease of alcoholism, working through it, stopping drinking, and getting your life back together is something to be proud of, not something to hang your head in shame about. And I am adamant about that. And I will put my cape on about that. And apparently, I get a little riled up about that. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We do not crawl before anyone. I don't get on my knees for anybody but Jesus, y'all. And don't be making smart ass comments either, Jamie. Or you can, but know that I see you coming. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We're about to get into the ninth step promises. And a good point I want to make about those is that these are ninth step promises. These do not get fronted to you at the fourth step or the third step or the second step. Or I walked into an AA meeting and got a cup of coffee, so I need these promises to start coming true. Hey, Tanya. Hey, girl. Hey. Thanks for coming in. We are on page 83 talking about step 9. I'm just about to start reading the promises. So you are going to hear this next part I'm going to read. You're going to hear it in like every meeting. Some meetings do the 10th step promises instead of reading the ninth step promises. But these are the ninth step promises. Jamie says, right now I'm doing cardio in 3-hour increments day after, 3-hour increments a day after each low carb meal. Not to be obsessed with working out, but to have that life surging through me. Everything works better that way. True story, Jamie. I know Cliff, he doesn't eat. I had to learn how to bake without using white flour, white sugar, butter, which is amazing. I just made cornbread muffins yesterday and chili. But yeah, so I have figured out I can make chia pudding, I make black bean brownies, I make bread out of avocados and cottage cheese. You'd be surprised. You would be surprised what you can make without using white flour and white sugar. Keep going, Jamie. A healthy body, a healthy mind, a healthy spirit. That is the way. So here we go, y'all. If you've been in the rooms, you've heard this before. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook. See how I did that? Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. Work, work, work. Next in the book is step 10. And the reason why it's short this time is because a lot of it got read with step 8 last week, because that's how the big book does it. They write 6 and 7 together. Well, 6 is this paragraph and 7 is the paragraph under it. And then 8 and 9 is kind of blended together because they do go hand in hand. For our purposes, for the book study and the step study, we're separating 8 from 9. So we did 8 last week. We're doing 9 this week, and we're about to go to the 12 and 12. Oh, my brother's in here. Hey, baby brother. Um, Jamie says hi. Shroom Day is my little brother. Y'all, like in real life. Now I say my little brother, he's in his 40s. We all know I'm in my 50s. So, but he jumps in here to help me. He is not in recovery. He's not actually a addict. He scraped out of that, but he's also not my blood brother because all my blood brothers, oh, screaming addicts, the ones that are left. Um but, he's wonderful, and he jumps in here to help me, living the dream. I'm gonna let y'all chat with each other in the chat, but, I'm gonna keep poking my head in. Listen, I'm sitting far away from my laptop, and, yeah, so bear with me. If I don't if you could call me too. My phone's closer than my laptop. Um, so, any questions so far from the chat of anything I just read? Shroom is the black sheep in his family. He is the black sheep because he's the only one of us that's got any kind of sanity or grounded or act right. Even though, listen, I'm not going to tell his story. I'm not going to tell his story. I could tell some stories about you, Shroom. Of course, he's got just as many he could tell about me. So this ninth step promises, that is something that my sponsor made very clear to me in the beginning. Those are ninth step promises. We read them at the end of every meeting and they give you hope from day one, but it is an unrealistic expectation to think that those promises are going to come true in your life if you're not doing the work. If you are not spiritually fit, if you are not working your steps, making your amends, uh doing the things necessary to get and stay sober, it is unrealistic to think that all those promises are going to come true for you. So please manage your expectations. Chris says I'm lying to everybody. I love you too, baby. I never told a lie. Well, in the last 7.5 years. All right, so now we're going to move over to the 12 and 12, which is one of my favorite things. Step 9. This is on page 83 of the 12 and 12. And y'all know what? I'm going to hit my vape because I'm a grown up and I can. And I think after I read it here, we're going to go back and talk a little bit about some of those promises. Step 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. What people? The people that we put on our 8th step. Those are the people that we have harmed through our isms while we were drinking, while we were drugging, while we were being crappy people, manipulative, lying, cheating, stealing, all that, all those people on that 8th step list. Now we're going to look at how we make amends to them. And remember, keep it in your head. Amends are about repairing relationships. Good judgment, a careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. These are the qualities we shall need when we take step 9. I shall also need my reading glasses. This is not the big print old lady edition. After we have made the list of people we have harmed, have reflected carefully upon each instance, and have tried to possess ourselves of the right attitude in which to proceed, we will see that the making of direct amends divides those we should approach into several classes. And where it says here, have reflected carefully, you've got your list of names, right? And you absolutely want to sit down with your sponsor, your accountability partner, your spiritual advisor, your therapist, whoever it is that you've got helping you go through this process. And like I said before, if you can't trust your sponsor with your 5th step, get a new sponsor, right? If you can't trust your sponsor with your 8th step, you should already have got a new sponsor. That's my opinion. Convince me I'm wrong, I dare you. The way I was taught to do it and the way that I teach it is that you have your list, and over each name, just like you did in your 4 step. You pray over each name. You ask your higher power to help you clear-headed make the decision on what kind of amends you're gonna make with this person. Is it a direct amends? Is it a living amends? Direct amends is when you go to that person. You speak to them face to face if you can, um, and you have the conversation with them. And I'm gonna tell you what to say at the end of this video. Okay? Don't be going all willy-nilly and pulling up stuff that doesn't need to be pulled up. There's a way to approach a person and make the direct amends without pulling up past trauma, without opening old wounds, and trying to repair the relationship so that you can move forward. And it's a very, very simple thing. We, of course, want to overcomplicate it. I know that I'm either overthinking or underthinking at all times. I overthink the wrong stuff, I underthink the other wrong stuff. So we're going to try and keep it as simple as we can. There will be those who ought to be dealt with just as soon as we become reasonably confident that we can maintain our sobriety. There will be those to whom we can make only partial restitution, lest complete disclosures do them or others more harm than good. There will be other cases where action ought to be deferred, and still others in which, by the very nature of the situation, we shall never be able to make direct personal contact at all. Most of us begin making certain kinds of direct amends from the day we join Alcoholics Anonymous. The moment we tell our families that we are really going to try the program, the process has begun. In this area, there are seldom any questions of timing or caution. We want to come in the door shouting the good news. After coming from our first meeting, or perhaps after we have finished reading the book Alcoholics Anonymous, we usually want to sit down with some member of the family and readily admit the damage we have done by our drinking. Almost always, we want to go further and admit our other defects that have made us hard to live with. This will be a very difficult. Sorry, guys. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm moving fast. This will be a very different occasion and in sharp contrast with those hangover mornings when we alternated between reviling ourselves and blaming the family and everyone else for our troubles. At this first sitting, it is necessary only that we make a general admission of our defects. It may be unwise at this stage to rehash certain harrowing episodes. Good judgment will suggest that we ought to take our time. While we may be quite willing to reveal the very worst, we must be sure to remember that we cannot buy our own peace of mind at the expense of others. Are you go and you apologize because you feel bad, you feel guilty, you feel shameful, and you want to make yourself feel better, but you're going to go sit down and talk with somebody, and the conversation's going to destroy them. What are you doing? What is the point and the purpose in that? Much the same approach will apply at the office or factory, at your job. We shall at once think of a few people who know all about our drinking and who have been most affected by it. But even in these cases, we may need to use a little more discretion than we did with the family. We may not want to say anything for several weeks or longer. First, we will wish to be reasonably certain that we are on the AA beam. We want to make sure that we are really doing it, because if you're like me, I always say my last rehab, not my first rehab. There are few among us that are white chip wonders, right? We come in the door, we get our first chip, we get into the literature, we go to the meetings, we get right with God, we straighten our lives out, we never have a slip, we were 100% from the get. That is awesome. That is super possible and not as uncommon as you might think. However, for many of us, I don't know how many times I said, "Oh, I'm getting sober. Oh, I'm never going to drink again. Oh, I'm going to these meetings. Oh, you can count on me now. And it just wasn't true. Now, it might have been true when I said it. I meant it when I said it, but it became untrue when I didn't follow through with it, when I didn't have any consistency, when I had no responsibility, when I thought I could manipulate and get over and was lying to myself as well as everybody else. So, when we're approaching people, keep that in mind. How many times have they heard you say, "This is it for me," right? So when they say, make sure you're on the AA beam, make sure your feet are steady. Hey, Stacy. Hi. Happy birthday. Thanks for coming in. Make sure that you are on that beam, that your feet are steady beneath you, that you're not falling off. Think about a beam, like a big square beam that you're walking on, and make sure that you are not about to fall off of it. Stacy Shroom is my younger brother. First, we will wish to be reasonably certain that we are on the AA beam. Then we are ready to go to these people to tell them what AA is and what we're trying to do. Against this background, we can freely admit the damage we have done and make our apologies. We can pay or promise to pay whatever obligations, financial or otherwise, we owe. The generous response of most people to such quiet sincerity will often astonish us. Even our severest and most justified critics will frequently meet us more than halfway on the first trial. Let me tell you, when I made my amends, 45 years of ripping and running, 45 years sitting in my last rehab, not my first rehab. And I would say 99% of the people, their answer to me was, "I'm so glad that you're finally doing it. You don't owe me anything. I love you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Stay sober. That's what I need. That's what I want." Right? One person, one person, um, my bestie from prison, who I had borrowed her laptop and sold it for drugs, she said all that to me, but she also wanted her laptop back. So that was really the only thing I had to come off of, was I had to get a top of the line laptop for my friend because she had let me borrow her top of the line laptop at the time, and I had sold it for drugs and then lied. Um, yeah. So I did have to make that financial amend. And of course, I owed money. My credit was bad. I had to get my credit fixed, but as far as actual relationships, people in my life that I had directly hurt with my bullshit, um, they really did. They really did just say, "Hey, you know what? We're just so happy that you're not using anymore and that you're not killing yourself. And that's what, we love you. Stay clean." So now that may not be your experience, right? There might be some people that tell you to F off. Too little, too late. Okay, that's fine. You did what you were supposed to do. You did the best you could with what you had in the moment. And some people may never come back into your life. That's okay. You're going to find new people and it's going to be all right. You're going to be strong. This atmosphere of approval and praise is apt to be so exhilarating as to put us off balance by creating an insatiable appetite for more of the same. Or we may be tipped over in the other direction when, in rare cases, we get a cool and skeptical reception. This will tempt us to argue or to press our point insistently, or maybe it will tempt us to discouragement and pessimism. But if we have prepared ourselves well in advance, such reactions will not deflect us from our steady and even purpose. And I have a note here in my book says, don't let rejection detract you. So you've heard me say it before. Don't blame the next guy for what the last guy did, right? You go to somebody and you say, "Hey, I want to," you give them the speech, and they go, "I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe you. I've heard it before. Kick rocks." Please do not let that detract you from going to the next person on your list. Don't say, "Oh, well, I've been rejected and they're not buying it and they don't believe me and I'm not getting the result that I'm looking for, so I'm going to stop doing it." Do not, please do not let that happen to you. Chalk that up and keep it pushing and go move forward. Keep moving forward. After taking the preliminary trial at making amends, we may enjoy such a sense of relief that we conclude our task is finished. We will want to rest on our laurels. The temptation to skip the more humiliating and dreaded meetings that still remain may be great. We will often manufacture plausible excuses for dodging these issues entirely. Or we may just procrastinate, telling ourselves the time is not yet, when in reality we have already passed up many a fine chance to right a serious wrong. Let's not talk prudence while practicing evasion. That shows a lack of willingness. And do not say to yourself, well, I don't need to make direct amends to this person that I could make direct amends to. I'm just going to make living amends. I'm going to make living amends and yeah. Don't do that, because then what happens? You run into that person at Walmart and they know. They listen. The folks in your life talk and they will say, "Hey, he's doing really good. I saw him the other day and we had this conversation." Da, da, da. So the other person that is sitting there waiting for that call, because they're expecting you to make amends to them and they don't hear from you, and then you run into them at Walmart. Oh, that's not going to be a pretty scene, baby. That is not going to be a pretty scene. All right, y'all gonna have to bear. I think. Hang on one second. Don't leave. Bear with me. Life is happening around me. Mom, did you turn it back up? No, I didn't. Did like the show change? It got loud. I'm sorry. It's okay. Woo! Okay. Are y'all still here? Sorry about that. Listen, life doesn't stop because I'm doing this. Okay. Let me get a drink. Oh, did y'all see me get right up in the camera like that? I'm sure nobody needs to see all that. Yeah, she's fine. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, she's okay out there. Um, yeah, she's fine, and I'm freaking out over nothing because I overthink the wrong stuff. But thank you for asking. Oh, she did get a scam call today. So, she got a scam call, and I hate to digress, but yeah, my spiritual principles go right out the window when it comes to my mother-in-law and taking care of her. And I heard her on the phone today, and I could just tell that it was some scam calling her. So I was like, "Mom, don't talk to them, whatever." And I jumped on the phone and I was like, "Do not call this number. Do not call, take this on your do not call list." And this man said, "Oh, I'm going to call. I'm going to call every day." I was like, "I will hunt you down." The vile things that I said to this man, y'all. I had to pray about it afterwards. But and I really did. I really did. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I had to tell her, "Listen, if you don't recognize the number, don't answer the phone." And her concern, of course, is that, one of her friends, they're older, might change their number or something and want to get hold of her. And I'm like, "That's great, Mom. They'll leave you a message." I don't answer anybody that I speak to. I put their name in my phone. And if you call me and it's just a number pops up, I'm not going to answer it. You will have an opportunity to leave me a message and I will get back to you at my convenience. So, anyway, that had me all in a tizzy earlier. And the number that we got for her we specifically gave it to some of her friends that are still around and still, have their faculties and call their friends. And anybody outside of that little tiny little group, she doesn't need to be. They don't need to do. You don't call her. Don't call her. Anyway, and it's getting close to Christmas, y'all. Look out for scammers. They're out many, and she'll be like, "Well, I don't want to hear what they have to say. Why? If they were mugging you on the street, you wouldn't have a conversation with them, and it's the same thing. They're trying to rip you off." Anyway, that's listen. He's just some dude in India threatening him isn't gonna do any good. That's true. You know what I do sometimes when they call is I tell them the good news. I say, Jesus died for your sins. Yeah, you can repent and not have to go to hell. But repent and sin no more. But either way, I mean, yeah, he was like, oh no, I'm gonna call every day. Oh, and then Cliff got on the phone, and we all, we all just all our spiritual principles right out the window. Oh, it's funny. Uh, anyway, as soon as we begin to feel confident in our new way of life and have begun by our behavior and example to convince those about us that we are indeed changing for the better, it is usually safe to talk with complete frankness with those who have been seriously affected, even those who may be only a little or not at all aware of what we have done to them. The only exceptions we will make will be cases where our disclosure would cause actual harm. These conversations can begin in a casual or natural way, but if no such opportunity presents itself, at some point we will want to summon all our courage, head straight for the person concerned, and lay our cards on the table. We needn't wallow in excessive remorse before those we have harmed, but amends at this level should always be forthright and generous. There can only be one consideration which should qualify our desire for a complete disclosure of the damage we have done. That will arise in the occasional situation where to make a full revelation would seriously harm the one to whom we are making amends. I've been seeing this I saw this post on Facebook. Um where somebody had said that like they were upset at the idea of people making amends. Like if I have been traumatized by you and then you come back and you want to make amends with me, I'm not consenting to this. I'm not consenting to having this conversation with you. And um you don't have any right to come and talk to me and bring up the trauma that I felt due to my interaction with you. And I think that's a valid point. I think that's valid. I like that this person, maybe doesn't understand why the other person is trying to make those amends. They just wanna be done with it. They just, and you have to take that into consideration. Like, what was your interaction with this person? And how hurt might they be? How sensitive are they? Are they the type of person that is gonna, really truly be scarred and hurt by whatever you said and did? Or are they somebody that, okay, yeah, I know you were being an asshole. I get it. You gotta, it is about you and your sobriety and what you need to do to get and stay sober. But that doesn't make it okay to just, pour yourself out to somebody who it's going to hurt them to have that conversation with you. You know, just like you would not in a million years try and make an amends with somebody who abused you, right? And you women out there, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. And some men too, but you know what I'm talking about. Zero chance, regardless of what your part in that relationship was, or being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or having unrealistic expectations, or whatever. Zero chance that you're going to go to your rapist, to your abuser, to your, no, no, no. That's not even on the table. At the same time, if you're on the other side of that coin, if you are the rapist, okay, you don't go to your victim. You don't approach you don't ever. You do not approach that victim and try to somehow make nice. That's not a relationship that you're trying to repair. So if I don't know, I mean, I could probably say it a few different ways and make it a little clearer, but this is on social media and YouTube, and I would like to not get my channel shut down. So I'm gonna calm it down. And I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. And if you're the you that I'm talking to, you know who you are. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be redeemed and you can't be forgiven in the eyes of God. Of course you can. Everybody can. But have some realistic expectations when you're dealing with other people. Hey, hey, hey! I'm going to read that sentence again. Actually, I'm going to read this whole paragraph again. There can only be one consideration which should qualify our desire for a complete disclosure of the damage we have done. That will arise in the occasional situation where to make a full revelation would seriously harm the one to whom we are making amends. Or, quite as important, other people. We cannot, for example, unload a detailed account of extramarital adventuring upon the shoulders of our unsuspecting wife or husband. And even in those cases where such a matter must be discussed, let's try to avoid harming third parties, whoever they may be. It does not lighten our burden when we recklessly make the crosses of others heavier. Many a razor edged question can arise in other departments of life where this same principle is involved. Suppose, for instance, that we have drunk up a good chunk of our firm's money, whether by borrowing or on a heavily padded expense account. Suppose that this may continue to go undetected if we say nothing. Do we instantly confess our irregularities to the firm in the practical certainty that we will be fired and become unemployable? Are we going to be so rigidly righteous about making amends that we don't care what happens to the family or the home? Or do we first consult with those who are to be gravely affected? Do we lay the matter before our sponsor or spiritual advisor, earnestly asking God's help and guidance? Meanwhile, resolving to do the right thing when it becomes clear, cost what it may. Let the chips fall where they fall. But you do not have the right to involve other people. You do not have the right to take yourself or money away from your family. You know, maybe you've got some legal troubles, right? You're not going to go down to the county jail and go, hey, here I am. No, you're going to call a lawyer. You're going to let the lawyer talk to the prosecutor, right? You're going to see what needs to be done, what is necessary to be done to fulfill whatever you need to fulfill. Right? And if you end up having to do some time, guess what? You end up having to do some time, but get some affairs in order. You know, you got your wife back, you got your kids back, you got your job back. Now, you're not going to throw all that away, right? You didn't start rebuilding just to pull it all out from under yourself again. Be smart, have realistic expectations. You got money problems? Get an accountant, right? Talk to your credit card people, talk to the bank, talk to the electric company, talk to the car loan people, whoever it is you got to talk to. You're not throwing yourself on the fire. You're not throwing yourself down on the sword because you feel bad about stuff. Let me check my chat. The Chinese found out how to turn a stray cat into 3 gallons of usable fuel. Just saying. What the hell are you talking about, Chris? And Jess said the principle of amends is a tougher job than people think. I always go over step 8 list and step 9 letters before they are given. It's always safer that way. Absolutely. Jess is talking about, she's a sponsor. She's talking about dealing with her sponsees. Don't just go all willy-nilly. You know, if you're not using a sponsor, which I absolutely think that you should, maybe you're using a spiritual advisor, maybe you have an accountability partner, whatever it is you're working with, bounce your stuff off of that person before you just go trying to run headlong into the fire, you know? And remember, not apologizing, repairing relationships. And we're going to get into the little speech later. Of course, there is no pat answer which can fit all such dilemmas, but all of them do require a complete willingness to make amends as fast and as far as may be possible in a given set of conditions. Above all, we should try to be absolutely sure that we are not delaying because we are afraid. For the readiness to take the full consequences of our past acts and to take responsibility for the well being of others at the same time is the very spirit of step 9. And that's a good point too. We never want to be led by fear, right? When we're active in our ism, um, and I'll tell you, I've said it before, the last emotion I ever had was fear and everything that stemmed from that. We do not let fear guide us in our recovery, right? We don't not do something because it's scary. We do it anyway. We are courageous. That is a spiritual principle. So, a lot of people will tell you that the spiritual principle associated with step 9 is justice. And I have a theory about that, and it is this, that I don't look for justice no more than I look for closure, because if there were justice, we'd all be hanging on the cross. So I look for taking responsibility. And again, I say it a million times because I want it to be a mantra in your head. Amends is not about saying I'm sorry, it's about repairing relationships, which is the answer to the question I hear from ex wives. And here's the question. Well, I know he quit drinking, and I know he's worked the program, and I know he's supposed to be making amends, and I'm waiting for that call. Sweetie, you might stay waiting. Yours may not be a relationship that he wants to repair. So he's going to make living amends instead. That's where the the difference is. Oh, here Michael says, I don't think my sponsees will ever get to step 9. Really try with these guys. I just give it to God and let him do the work needed. Love over fear. Good. Yeah, no, listen, how many of us have worked diligently with somebody and right about, the step 4 wants to take them out. If you can reel them in from that, then you get to say, okay, we're scared of step 5 because they're scared of step 4 because they're scared of step 5. Not the writing it down, but the telling it. And step 8 and 9 are the same. You're not scared of making the list. They're scared about doing something about what's on that list, right? So I'm going to tell you the speech that my sponsor gave to me and the what and the why of it. So you've heard me say before, your character defects. It's not that you stole $20, it's that you were a thief, right? Same thing with making your amends. Now, you've got this person on your list, right? It's a family member, it's a friend, it's a business associate, it's an acquaintance, it's whoever it is, right? They know what you did. They know what you did, and they have done whatever they need to do to get and be at peace with it and move on in their life and not, be trapped and can't get out of their bed because they're so depressed and upset about what you did, right? Please do not feel like you have that much of effect on another person's life, because that's, think to yourself about how much effect other people and their actions have on your life. Um, Like, I'm already over that guy calling my mother-in-law today. I'm just relaying it to you guys that happened today, but I'm over it. Um, when you go and sit down with somebody and you say to them, this is what you're going to say. I know that I messed up this relationship. It was my actions, my selfishness, my taking you for granted, taking our friendship, relationship for granted. I know that I did that, and I am sorry. I am and then you tell them whatever you're doing for your recovery. Like for me, remember, I was 45 when I had started doing this. I had just come out of my last rehab. I was going to meetings every day. I had a sponsor. I had been sober, I think, at this point for about 8 months. And so I was able to sit down and say, I am working a 12-step program. I am I've joined Alcoholics Anonymous. I go to meetings every day. I have a sponsor. I spent 4 months in rehab. Um, and I would like to know what, if anything, I can do to repair this relationship that I know my actions messed up. And then you shut up. You do not have to say, I stole $20, I kicked your dog, I got drunk and slept with the bridesmaid at your wedding. You don't have to list everything that you said and did. They know. They know. And they may have come to peace with it. Not like they forgive you or whatever, and maybe they do forgive you. The point is, you do not have to open up every little wound. Here, let me just pull the scab off of that and see if we can't make that bleed while I'm asking for forgiveness. Do you see what a ridiculous thing that is? Don't do that. Don't do that. They know that you stole $20, you kicked their dog, and slept with the bridesmaid at their sister's wedding. They know. I'm sorry. What can I do to repair this relationship? Shut up. Let them think about it and let them say to you, this is what I need from you. Now, you're either going to do it or you're not. They might want something ridiculous. They might want you, well, you're going to go on Facebook and you're going to make a post and you're going to tell everybody what piece of shit you are. No, you're not. I know I'm not. So, I can't, I'm not going to do that. They may want their money back. They may, whatever it is they tell you to do it. If it's reasonable, do it. Some people's response is going to be, it's too little too late. There's nothing you could do. I never want to see you again. F off. In that instance, you're going to F off. You're not going to beg. You're not going to plead. You're not going to insist. You're not going to have an argument. You're going to say, hey, I understand. Here's my number. If you ever change your mind, please give me a call. And then you go away and leave that person alone. You do not impose yourself on them. Jess says, I just had to make amends to someone who actually stole from me, but I made her feel some sort of way, so I had to own giving my impression that I wanted her to feel that way. I didn't apologize for making her feel that way, just told her those feelings weren't my intention. That right there, clarifying is part of it. You make your apology, clarify. But, some people, and again, if it's an abusive situation, this comes up. I see it all the time, just like I see, these 12-step haters that have no solution other than I hate the 12 steps. They might as well be politicians. Their whole platform is I hate Donald Trump. Okay, but that means nothing to me. You know, um, Okay, you hate the 12 steps. Great. What's your solution? How'd you do it? Oh, you have no answer? Well, then, shut up about it. But that's me being callous. Um, One of the things that comes up is that I've seen on a couple of these different things, and I'm not going to name names. I don't need to do that. Um, this idea that AA insists that you go make amends to somebody that abused you. Never. Never, nope, not once. Never. I don't know where that idea came from. I think that is people trying to manipulate newcomers into not going to AA because they want them to spend money on whatever their program is. Never in life is your sponsor going to tell you, Oh, that man that beat the shit out of you, that man that raped you, you have to go make amends to that person. No, no, you don't. No, you don't. And if you have a sponsor that tells you that, what do I say? Find a new sponsor. What are you out of your mind? You would have to be. You would have to still be sick and suffering in such a way that I can't fathom. And especially you women out there, you know what I'm talking about. We have had those boyfriends. We have had those experiences. Some of us have been trafficked. You gonna go find your trafficker and make your amends because of that thing that you said to him that hurt his feelings that one time? I don't think so. And by all means, tell me if you think I'm wrong. Convince me. I'll wait. Not very long though. I am gonna hit this vape though. So that's direct amends. You want to go down your list. You want to contact everybody directly that you can contact anybody that you can talk to in person. That's great because a lot of things can get lost in a text. And so if they are living and you are able to make contact with them either in person, or what is even better than a phone call is a FaceTime them so they can look in your eyes, so they can see your sincerity, so they can hear your voice, right? And they can gauge whether or not you're still full of shit like you were the last 10 times you called them and said you were sorry. If you cannot find them, and I had this happen, there are people in this world that I have not been able to find. There are people in this world that don't want to hear from me and are happy to that I'm not in their life. And it's never going to be a repaired relationship. For that, I make living amends. Um, First, try to contact them in person. FaceTime them, phone call, text. Look them up, and if you don't know their number, find them on Facebook, TikTok. Everybody's got social media. Most of us have social media, Instagram, whatever. Google them. Do everything in your ability to make the direct amends. If you cannot find that person, they stay on your list. This is the thing with step 9. Okay. You may never finish step 9. You do not wait until step 9 is complete before you start step 10. You do the best that you can. You get everybody you can get, and you start making your living amends, and then you go to step 10. You don't wait to finish that last name on your step 9 because it may never happen. The point of step 9 is that you are willing to make those amends. At any point in time, you can run into that person. Maybe it's a high school reunion. Maybe it's Walmart. Maybe it's the random church you got invited to that Sunday, and boom, there's that person. That happened to us. My husband and I went to a church one time, and we just were trying out different churches because we had moved, and wasn't his ex-wife in the congregation. Yeah, imagine that. We had no idea. So it could happen like that, right? You have to be willing to have this conversation if and when the opportunity presents itself. Michael says, I did a financial amends and it was not easy, but worth it in the end. Yes, they're all worth it in the end. I was able to get my credit up. I was able to, buy a house and a car. And now my husband had lost his job. He's had some struggles with finding work in his field in this area and whatever. So I kind of maxed out my credit cards, but I'm living the American dream because I'm overworked, underpaid, and deep in debt. Yay! But the idea that I have debt, the idea that somebody would give me credit in the first place. When I first got sober, y'all, I could not pay Capital One to give me a secured card. Truth. Truth. I'm like, I'll give you $100. Give me a secured card. Nope. That's how bad my credit was. Here I am 7 years later, owning my home, deep in debt, fabulous. So if you can't make direct amends. You have looked for this person, you have called, you have checked all your old phone numbers, you've looked on Facebook, Instagram, called around, talked to their mom, can't find them, whatever it is. Okay. They stay on your list. You maintain the willingness to have the conversation should the opportunity arise. Now we go to living amends. What is living amends? Living amends is living your life in such a way that whatever feeling you made happen in that other person, or whatever manipulation, selfishness, character defect, whatever it is that you did, you live your life in such a way so that you no longer do that. You don't steal, you don't lie, you don't cheat, um, you don't manipulate. You're not selfish, self-seeking, self-centered. That's what living amends is. Living amends is living your life in such a way that you no longer have to make amends to people. You don't create these new situations, right? That's what living amends is. Living by spiritual principles. If you are living by spiritual principles, you are very likely not going to have to make new amends to new people because you will not be creating those situations, those feelings in another person and messing up a relationship that you then have to go make amends to try to repair that relationship. It's real easy to screw up our credit. I only wish it was that easy to fix it. It took me a long time to fix my financial scrubs. Me too. Right now, I'm paying interest on everything. Everything's just interest. And I just had a $400 at the vet today. Um, totally worth the effort. Everybody, see, that's everybody's answer. Worth the effort. Worth the effort. Absolutely. You know, um, let's see. I don't know. What else can I say about step nine? It's very freeing. And there is nobody that I can't run into, right? Nobody from my past is going to show up and I can't have that conversation with them. Also, nobody from my past can show up and hang something over my head. Oh, well, I work an honest program, you know, and the honest answer sometimes might be, well, that's none of your business. And I'm not going to answer that question. Just because you ask me doesn't mean you're going to get an answer, because the honest answer might be, that's not your business. However, there's nothing hanging over my head. There's nothing I'm afraid of as far as, oh, somebody's going to find out. I'm a brain damaged drug addict. I was in prison. I mean, come on. This is all public record, public knowledge. Anybody that knows me knows. So, there's nothing you're going to tell my husband he doesn't already know. So, but that's the beauty of having worked these steps, is that feeling of that freedom and that fearlessness. That is one of the greatest gifts of recovery for me, is that fearlessness that I don't have to, I'm not afraid of that. What you going to do? Who you going to tell? What are you going to say about me that hasn't already been said? There are no secrets. Shrimp says it's a great feeling not having to watch behind us all the time. Truth. Truth, because there is nobody I can't run into. I don't care, whatever it is. There is nobody in my past that I either haven't made amends with or have the willingness to make the amends. And there are people on my list that I absolutely said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The world could catch on fire before I call that person. However, whatever part I played in the situation, there are people in my life that it would be dangerous for me to contact, that it would be unsafe for them to know where I am. Right? They want to watch me on YouTube, power to them, but they don't get to know my address. They don't get to have my phone number. That's not going to happen. And if they showed up, it would be a quick 911 call. And I have a big husband and he stays armed and I have 4 dogs. So again, fearless. Michael says, life is better for us all today. Sing that on the mountain, brother. Yes, yes. And I don't know how, look at this. I was saying to somebody just the other day, I'm not always happy, but I am always joyful. I am always joyful. I always know that everything's going to be okay. It may, and it's not going to necessarily work out the way I wanted to, but it is going to work out. I'm not sure what else to talk about. What time is it? Oh, it's only 8 o'clock. We've only been doing this an hour. Um, so does anybody have any questions about step 9 or anything else that they would like to say about their amends? Like, do you is what I'm saying? Is it what do you agree with what I'm saying? Am I crazy? I don't think I am. I think I'm following it pretty good. Um, but yeah, step 9 was very freeing. And oh, the promises. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to revisit the promises because I hear people all the time. They get all excited. They've been to 2 meetings and they hear the promises. They're like, "Woo!" And then like, "Well, I don't. They're not coming true in my life." Well, of course they're not. You're not. You're on like step half. You're on you for half. You're only done half of the first step. Why do you think the 9 step promises are coming true? Manage your expectations. Um, but they do come true. They absolutely do come true. Like, look, I'm sitting here talking about how much debt I'm in, but I have no fear of economic insecurity, right? It's going to work out. It's going to be fun. My lights are on. My Wi Fi's on. There's gas in my car, food in my fridge. Oh, I'm way over here. If we are painstaking, if we are painstaking, if we are diligent, if we don't procrastinate, if we don't put it off, if we don't half ass it, that's what painstaking means. If we are painstaking in this process, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. Because before you are halfway through making your amends, you're going to start to see these things happening. You're going to be amazed at how receptive people are when you come to them, not with apologies, not with excuses, but with what can I do to make it right? I know I mess up. I see this is my fault and I would like to fix it. And please, what do you need me to do? What can I do to repair this relationship? When you say that to people, they are because they've done hurt, I'm sorry, how many times? They see you coming, they're like, "Oh god, not this one again. What? What now?" And you disarm them with honesty and fearlessness and true remorse and wanting to take responsibility. Not bullshit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me say I'm sorry and say what I got to say to get you off my back like we do the other 1,000 times before this time. The response and the reaction that you get from that person, mind blowing. Mind blowing. Dream says, I know a lot of people in recovery might feel a bit vulnerable, but don't beat yourself up over trying to get through your list. I don't personally know about the 12 steps. I would imagine much of it is spiritual. It's all spiritual, honey. We got a God-sized hole we were trying to fill with drugs and alcohol and sex, gambling, food, all the isms. And it is a spiritual malady that requires a spiritual solution. 1,000%. Most people say to me to just keep doing what I'm doing. They just want to see me do good, and that's priceless. That's what I said. Exactly. 99% of them said that's was exactly the response that I got, except for my friend that wanted a laptop back. Which I got off. Listen, thank God for Black Friday sales because I was able to get her a really nice laptop, pretty cheap, and so yeah, and that was priceless. That was priceless. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Truth. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. My past. Hey, listen, we talked about this in step 4. It already happened. I can't go back and make a better past. Right? Whatever happened already happened. Whether it happened to me or I happened to it, it's happened. Now I can try to right my wrongs and make up for crappy things that I said and did, but I can't go back and erase the past, right? My past is my past, and a lot of it is public record. The only pictures of me in active addiction are mugshots. So, Google me, but don't. You know, you don't want to know. I am, but it's okay. If somebody were to pop up with my mugshots, I'd be like, yeah, that really happened. That was me. What good would it do me to say, oh no, yeah, it's me. I've done time. A lot of times I talk to people and I'll be like, oh, I did time there. I'm like, oh, where are you from? Oh yeah, I've done time there. Yeah. You know, it's not something that I'm necessarily proud of, but it's also not something that I'm necessarily ashamed of. Right? I learned from every experience I've ever had. And had I not gone through what I went through, I wouldn't be sitting where I am right here now today. Hopefully, I am planting some kind of seeds. I am carrying the message of recovery. I am letting the people out there know, listen, however bad you think you've been, I understand and I get it. And I too was a piece of crap. Sure was. Sure, I could put my cape on and be super piece of crap, is how bad I was. Oh, Tanya, tell Tanya I said I love her. I'm so glad she takes care of you. Thanks, Chris. Okay, we will understand the word serenity and we will know peace. Do you know just today I was at the vet and I had to pee. And right before I went in the bathroom, this girl went in the bathroom before me. And so I had to wait. And when I tell you, when you got to pee, like every second is like a year. And I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there. I'm like, my dogs are waiting out in the car and I don't have the car on. And I just have, I just drove for 45 minutes from my house to get to the vet. And this lady was taking forever, but she probably wasn't taking forever. It just felt like forever. And in that moment, I started saying like a mantra to myself. Accept the things I cannot change. Accept the things I cannot change. Acceptance is the key to serenity. Accept the things I cannot change. Acceptance is the key to serenity. And I just kept saying that over and over to myself. And I got through the moment and I did what I had to do. And I went out, got my car turned on for my dogs. And so I hate to leave them in the car for like 30 seconds if the car is not on because I live in Florida and I'm scared to death of, but it wasn't, it was like 75 degrees. It was early in the morning. They were fine. Um, but in my mind, because I overthink things, I'm just, I had to stop myself from cat catastrophic. What is that word? You know what I'm trying to say. Well, I'm making it the worst, like the worst thing. Like I'm going to go out to the car and the dogs will have spontaneously combusted because the sun hit the car for 2 seconds, right? Yeah. So I had to stop myself from thinking like that. So I did. I did that mantra. Acceptance is the key to serenity. Accept the things that cannot change. Accept the things that cannot change. I cannot make this woman pee any faster. So I'm not going to have a fit in the vet's office. I'm going to stand here quietly and patiently. And when it's my turn, I will get to go. And that is serenity and peace. There was a time in my life where I would have completely showed my ass, banged down the door. How long does it take that? I was that person. Y'all, I was that person. I don't do that anymore. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. How many people do you think are comfortable talking to me knowing that I have done time? Knowing that I have been in abusive relationships, knowing that I have been a thief and a liar and a manipulator, because so have they. And they don't want to talk to somebody who hasn't been down those roads. And they feel like they're going to feel judged. But when they talk to me, they feel like they're not going to feel judged. They feel like I might understand. So, as low as I have gone, that allows me to help other people who have also gone low. Which isn't to say that your sponsor has to have gone that low to understand and be non judgmental. That's not true. Your sponsor may never have done any of that stuff and still be loving and compassionate and non judgmental. But I understand how my experience, and as low as I went, opens me up and lets other people open up to me with a better expectation. And they feel a little more comfortable knowing that I have been down those roads, you know. Thank you. I still can't pronounce it, Jess. I don't think you spelled it right. Michael says, thanks for having me. I did subscribe to your channel. Good night and God bless you and your family. Keep going strong. Thank you, Michael. He might have left already, but thank you so much. Thank you. Aw. That feeling of uselessness and self pity will disappear. Useless. I was useless. I couldn't get a job. Um, I couldn't stay off drugs. I couldn't make any money. I did feel useless. I did feel useless, and I felt like I was gonna just die in a trailer park somewhere, drunk or high or whatever, but I didn't really see anything good happening in my life. And I felt useless. And I was very self-pitying. Very me, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. That is gone. That is gone. I know that I am useful. I know that my pastor said yesterday, we are made on purpose with a purpose. And we got to figure out what that purpose is. And I thoroughly 1,000% believe that. I am not useless. I am very useful. And I can use my powers for good instead of evil, which is what this is. This is me carrying the message of recovery and trying to help those that still suffer and plant little seeds. And hopefully, my experience will give you some strength and hope. Self seeking will slip away. We lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. I care so much about you guys. Do you know how easy it would be for me to not do this? This is my day off. I could be doing nothing right now, and there's nothing I like better to do than nothing. I sometimes I run out of nothing. I got to go over to the neighbor's house, get some of their nothing so I can do some of it. But no, because I feel like this is important. I feel like if I can answer any question that you have about this to the best of my ability and use my platform so that other people can come on and ask questions and also give their experience. Jess is a monster sponsor. Jess has got more sponsees than you got fingers. That's not true. I'm making that up. I exaggerate for effect. But Jess is a great resource. And for her to come in here and take part in this means everything to me. And that's not ego. I'm not in competition with anybody. I want everybody to have their say. I want everybody to come in and go, "Hey, this is what I think. This is what I found. How can I be of service? How can I help?" That's being interested in your fellows and that selfishness slipping away, that self-seeking slipping away. I don't need to do this. My recovery's strong. My sobriety's strong. I'm going to stay sober no matter what you do. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for the next guy. I'm doing this for the people that are watching that I'm never going to talk to, that are never going to reach out to me and say anything to me. But somewhere in this, they're going to hear what they need to hear to get them on the right path. That's why I'm doing this. That's why Jess is in here. That's why Crisco. That's why all these people in the chat. That's why they come in. That's why they come in. They could sit there silently, but no, they've got something to say. And what they have to say might help the next guy. That's what that is. We already talked about fear and economic insecurity. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. That is a truth. And just when dealing with other people, just, dealing with customer service agents, um, dealing with cops, dealing with just anything that happens. I get my tax bill in. I got to go to the doctor's office. I got to get prescriptions refilled. I got to pick an insurance company. These are things that used to be completely out of my ability to function and fathom like a normal, upstanding member of society. That may not be your experience. Maybe these are things that you never had a problem with. These are not the situations which baffled you. These are the situations which baffled me. And now I can handle them without having to come apart, without pieces of me flying everywhere or pieces of somebody else flying everywhere, which was more likely what was going to happen. I don't do that anymore. And of course, we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we cannot do for ourselves. I'll tell you, one of the things, and um, it seems like a small thing, but to me, it was huge. I have a grand fear of being late. I'm always early. I go into like, if I'm going to be late for something. And I had my IOP, and my IOP therapist was always late because she would do, she would be in a session and she would not cut her session short because of the clock. Like if somebody was talking, like she was very good. So I would get there and invariably I would have to sit in the waiting room. And she would be like 10, 15 minutes coming out of the session before me before I could see her. And yet I am in a panic trying to get to her office to be there on time. And one day I was doing that and I was upset because also this was connected to my probation, my federal probation. And so I had that legit fear of being late and getting in trouble, right? And as I'm driving, I know I'm running late, only like a couple minutes. I mean, I'm not talking like an hour late. I'm talking like 3 minutes. And so I start praying. I start praying about it. And it occurs to me, she is not going to be sitting there waiting for me when the clock strikes the top of the hour. That there's no reason for me to believe that this day is going to be different than any other day, and that 3 minutes is not going to cost me. I'm not going back to prison over those 3 minutes. And that I needed to calm down. So I did. So I took some breaths, said my prayer. Thank you, Jesus. Got there, parked, went in, sat down. 5 minutes later, she was still in her office. Another 5 minutes go by. Now she comes out. Didn't even know that I wasn't there at the top of the hour. Didn't make any difference to anybody except in my own little crazy mind. So, God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. I couldn't calm down about it. I prayed. God calmed me down. Convince me otherwise. Can't do it. All right, listen, guys. I'm going to go ahead. It is, unless anybody else has anything else they want to say or talk about, it has been an hour, and I appreciate everybody for staying and hanging out. Um, and so let me say this. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, go check out starvethedemon.com. You can buy a cool t-shirt, you can buy me a coffee, there's merchandise on there, and just love everybody. Let God sort them out and keep coming back. I'm going to keep coming back. I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about step 10, Alcoholics Anonymous program. If you're working NA, AA, anything that ends in an A, doesn't matter. Steps, principles are the same. I do have the Narcotics Anonymous steps done through 12. That's on a different playlist. Check out the channel. Check everything out. I've got great videos, interviews coming up. Jess on here. Her interview is going to be coming out hopefully this Saturday. If not this Saturday, next Saturday. When I know, you'll know. So thanks for coming. Bye.